Hello there, my name is Payal Naraine and welcome to this video series. यहाँ हम कवर कर रहे हैं पूनम दलाल दहिया की एंशिएंट एंड मेडिवल इंडिया की 3rd एडिशन, जो कि लेटेस्ट एडिशन है. इस किताब को हम थ्रूली रीड करेंगे और जहाँ ज़रूरत पड़ेगी वहाँ हम साथ ही साथ UPSC एंड स्टेट सर्विसेज में आए हुए प्रीवियस ईयर के क्वेश्चंस भी डिस्कस करेंगे. एंड इस सीरीज़ में वीडियोस लगभग 30 to 35 मिनट्स के होंगे, बड़े इफेक्टिव होंगे और हम ऑलमोस्ट 40 to 45 लेक्चर्स में ये पूरी किताब कवर करेंगे. और अगर आपने ये सीरीज़ 3 to 4 टाइम्स देख ली तो बिल्कुल ये किताब आपके दिमाग में छप जाएगी एंड ट्रस्ट मी, आपकी एक्यूरेसी भी काफ़ी इंक्रीज़ हो जाएगी. साथ ही साथ आपका रिवीजन भी काफ़ी आसान हो जाएगा. सो अगर आपको रिवीजन के साथ साथ वैल्यू एडिशन भी करना है तो ये सीरीज़ पूरी फॉलो करें. आपको बस आपके पास ये किताब रखकर मुझे सुनना है एंड मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स मार्क करने हैं. So without any further delay, let's get started. Hello there, welcome back to the channel Ghatna Sutra. यहाँ हम कवर कर रहे हैं पूनम दलाल दहिया की एंशिएंट एंड मेडिवल इंडिया 3rd एडिशन, जो कि लेटेस्ट एडिशन है. और हम आज शुरू कर रहे हैं द पीरियड फ्रॉम 850 to 1200 CE सदर्न इंडिया, द छोलास. एंड बिफोर वी डू दैट, आप छोलास की टॉपिक को स्टार मार्क कर लीजिए क्योंकि इसमें UPSC की क्वेश्चन एग्जाम में 2001 में सवाल आया था. साथ ही जब हम छोला के फाउंडर के बारे में बात करेंगे, दैट इज़ विजयाला, उनके ऊपर भी BPSC में 2022 में क्वेश्चन आया था. साथ ही RA/RTS की एग्ज़ाम में 2016 में क्वेश्चन आया था. सो डबल स्टार मार्क द टॉपिक ऑफ द फाउंडर ऑफ छोला डायनेस्टी. ठीक है, सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड. द छोलास. ड्यूरिंग 850 to 1200 CE, the Cholas, who were famous in Indian history for the local self-government, founded a mighty empire in the southern India, which brought under its control a large part of peninsula. The Cholas also possessed a strong navy, which further aided them to develop sea trade in Indian Ocean, and to conquer Sri Lanka and Maldives Island. They not only defeated Indian kings but also defeated the king of Malaya, Java and Sumatra. It is believed that the Chola came to power after overthrowing the authority of the Pallavas in South India. The founder of Chola dynasty was Vijayala, 9th century CE. Vijayala, around 850 CE, founder of the Chola Empire, earlier a feudatory of the Pallavas. He established his power in the area around Uriyur, captured Tanjore and extended his kingdom along the lower Kaveri. Aditya I, 871 to 907 CE, successor of Vijayala, who achieved significant military success and expanded the Chola kingdom. At the Battle of Sripurambiam, he allied with the Pallavas and defeated Pandyas, and as a recompense received some territories in the Tanjore area. Later, in 1893 CE, he defeated and killed the Pallava overlord Aparajita, thus bringing Tondai Mandalam, southern Tamil country, under his control. So here on the map you can see various South Indian kingdoms. Just here we see Cholas, Pandyas, Hoysalas, Cheras, Kakatiyas and so on. He also allied with the Cheras and conquered Kongudesha, probably Coimbatore and Salem district from Pandyas. He presumably also conquered Talkat, which was the capital of Western Gangas. He entered into a matrimonial alliance with the Pallavas by marrying a Pallava princess, Prantaka I. So आप प्रांतका 1 के टॉपिक को डबल स्टार मार्क कर लीजिए क्योंकि इसके ऊपर UP UDA/LDA के एग्जाम में 2001 में सवाल आया था. साथ ही साथ UPSC 2020 में भी इसके ऊपर सवाल आया था. ठीक है. Prantaka I, 907 to 953 CE, won several victories with the help of his allies such as the Western Gangas, the Kodumbular chiefs and the ruler of Kerala. He captured Madurai and took the title of Madurantaka, destroyer of Madurai, and Madurai Kunda, capturer of Madurai. At the famous Battle of Vellore, he defeated the combined armies of the Pandyas and the king of Sri Lanka, and thus Pandya territory became the part of the Chola Empire. However, in 1949 CE, he was defeated by the Rashtrakuta ruler Krishna III at the Battle of Takolam. Krishna III assumed the title of conqueror of Kanchi and Tanjai, and the Rashtrakuta army overran the Tondai Mandalam. He was a great builder of temple and provided the Vimanas of the famous Nataraja temple at Chidambaram with a golden roof. आप आपकी बुक्स में भी इसे हाईलाइट कर दीजिए. इफ़ दे आस्क अ क्वेश्चन कि किस रूलर ने नटराजा टेम्पल के ऊपर गोल्डन रूफ चढ़ाया था, सो यू नो इट्स प्रांतका वन. द टू फेमस Uttarameru inscription provide detailed account of the village administration under his reign. Prantaka II / Sundara Chola, 957 to 973 CE. He recovered most of the lost territories from the Rashtrakutas, such as some part of Tondaimandalam, and also not only defeated a combined Pandya Sri Lankan army but also invaded Sri Lanka. Uttama Chola, 973 to 985 CE. When he extended the throne, most of the Tondai Mandalam had been retrieved from the Rashtrakutas. So before we start with Raja 1, right? आप इस टॉपिक को ट्रिपल स्टामा कर लीजिए क्योंकि इसके ऊपर छत्तीसगढ़ PCS में 2014 में सवाल पूछा गया था, यूपी PCS में 2003 में पूछा गया था एंड यूपी PCS में 2014 एंड 2020 में पूछा गया था. सो दिस मेक्स दिस टॉपिक हाईली इंपॉर्टेंट. सो ट्रिपल स्टार मार्क दिस इन योर बुक्स टू. Arumoli Varman / Raja 1, 985 to 1014 CE. Greatest Chola ruler who helped raise the Chola Empire to become the largest dominion in South India till the 13th century. Through a series of successful military campaigns, he broke the confederation between the Pandyas and the ruler of Kerala and Sri Lanka. He not only defeated the Chera rulers, Bhaskara Ravi Varman, in the naval battle of Salai and destroyed the Chera navy at Trivandrum, attacked Quilon and captured Madurai, but also annexed the northern Sri Lanka and named it Mumadi Chola Mandalam. He also conquered the Maldives island. He led a naval expedition against the Shailendra Empire, Malian Peninsula, and expanded Chola trades with China. He also achieved victories against the western Chalukyas, the Rashtrakutas, later Chalukyas, who had their capital at Kalyani and annexed the northern western part of the Ganga region in the northwest Karnataka and also overran Vengi. However, he restored Vengi to its ruler after marrying the daughter of the king of the Vengi. It is pertinent to note that the Cholas and the later Chalukyas clashed for the overlordship of Vengi, the Tungabhadra Doab, the Ganga country in the northwestern Karnataka. Neither side was able to gain a decisive victory in this context, and ultimately it exhausted both the empires. In 1010 CE, he constructed the Raja Rajeshwara or Brihadeshwara temple dedicated to Shiva at Tanjore. This temple is also called Raja temple. So highlight the name आपकी books में in temple का, ठीक है? And who constructed the temple? Raja 1. As you can see over here. ठीक है. This temple is also called as Raja temple, as the Cholas were in the habit of installing the image of king and queens in the temple in addition to the deity. He also helped in the construction of Buddhist monastery at Nagapattinam. Highlight the name of the Buddhist monastery and where it was constructed. During his reign, he developed and reorganized an excellent revenue system wherein land was surveyed and the revenue was assessed. Interestingly, he was referred to as Ulkalanda Perumal, that is the great of one who measures the earth, which apart from being compared to God Vishnu can also point to his efforts of ordering of land survey. राजेंद्र 1. सो आप राजेंद्र 1 की टॉपिक को ट्रिपल स्टार मार्क कर लीजिए क्योंकि ये यूपी PCS के एग्ज़ाम में 2008, 2014 एंड 2020 में आया था. साथ ही ये UPSC के एग्ज़ाम में 2007 में इसके ऊपर सवाल पूछा गया था. ठीक है. सो इट इज़ एन इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक. Rajendra I, 1014 to 1044 CE, son of Raja 1, who carried forward his father's expansionist policy and continued the Chola territorial expansion. He completed the viceroy over Ceylon by defeating the Sri Lankan king Mahinda V. The royal insignia of the king and the queen of Sri Lanka were captured, and Sri Lanka was not able to free herself from the Chola control for another 50 years. He completely overran the Pandyas and the Cheras and included them in his empire. In 1022 CE, he led an expedition to the north, crossed Ganga, following the same route which was taken by the great conqueror Samudragupta, and defeated the Pala ruler, Mahipala I, and the western Chalukyas. To commemorate his victory, he assumed the title of Gangaikonda Chola. Highlight the title, and this title was for Rajendra I, meaning the Chola conqueror of Gangas, and established a new capital named Gangai-Kondai Cholapuram, meaning the city of the Chola conqueror of the Gangas. Near the mouth of the river Kaveri, he built a Shiva temple here known as the famous Rajeshwara temple and excavated a large irrigation tank called Chola Gangam. The river Tungabhadra was the northern boundary. In 1025 CE, a successful naval expedition was dispatched against the revived Srivijaya Empire, which extended over the Malayan Peninsula, Sumatra, Java, and the neighboring islands, and controlled the overseas trade route to China. The expedition led to the conquest of Kadram or Kedah and a number of other places in the Malayan Peninsula and Sumatra. The rule of Shailendra dynasty were Buddhist and earlier had cordial relation with the Cholas. In fact, the Shailendra ruler had built a Buddhist monastery at Nagapattinam, and his instance, Rajendra I, has endowed a village for its upkeep. The cause of breach between the two now was the Chola eagerness to remove obstacle of Indian traders and expand Chola trade with China. It is noteworthy to add that the Chola navy was the strongest in the area for some time, and the Bay of Bengal was converted into a Chola lake. He was a great patron of learning and was known for Pandita Chola and was also known as Pandita Chola. Rajadhiraj, 1044 to 1052 CE. He was a great warrior who always led from the front, standing shoulder to shoulder with his men on front lines, and earned the title of Jamaya Konda Chola, the victorious Chola king. He ably defeated Pandyas, Cheras, and the ruler of Sri Lanka. He also sacked and plundered Chalukyan cities such as Kalyani and planted a Jayastamba at Yadgiri. It is noteworthy to add that the Chola had a blot on their history, as they adopted a very harsh attitude towards both the king and general population of the palace they sacked, since they mostly plundered and massacred the people, including Brahmanas and children. For instance, the Chola destroyed Anuradhapura, the ancient capital of Sri Lanka, and treated their king and queen very harshly. They did the same in Pandya country, where they settled a military colony to overawe the population. However, once they had conquered the country, they tried to set up a sound system of administration in it. Was also known as Vijaya Rajendra Chola, that is the victorious Rajendra Chola king. He died in the battlefield while fighting in the Battle of Kopam against Someshwar, a western Chalukyan king, and from the manner of his death, Rajadhiraj came to be known as Yanai Mail Tunjina Devar, the king who died on the back of an elephant. Rajendra II, 1054 to 1063 CE, crowned in the battlefield, defeated Someshwara, planted a Jayastamba at Kolhapur. Veera Rajendra, 1063 to 1067 CE, defeated Someshwara II and established a Vedic college of learning. Athi Rajendra, 1067 to 1070 CE, had to face many rebellions and died while suppressing one of them. Kolutunga I, 1070 to 1122 CE, the last important Chola king who adopted the title of Shunga Taviratta, abolisher of tolls. Under him, the Chola Empire started disintegrating and shrunk to a much smaller area. During his reign, Sri Lanka became independent. In 1077 CE, a Chola embassy of 70 merchants were dispatched to China, and they took tribute articles taken for trade such as glassware, camphor, brocades, rhinoceros horns, and ivory. The kingdom also had flourishing trade with the kingdom of Srivijaya. He is credited with uniting the eastern Chalukyas of Vengi with the Cholas. It is presumed that he discarded wars and worked for peace as his reign was comparatively peaceful, and it was only during the second half of his reign the kingdom faced hostility from the Chalukyas and Hoysalas. He was titled Sangam Taviratta Cholan on account of abolition of taxes and remission of tolls during his reign. The classic writer Kumban wrote Ramayana in Tamil at his court. So highlight the name of the writer and what was written by that writer. Highlight that too. The later rulers such as Kolutanga II, Raja II and Kolutanga III tried to maintain the Chola Empire, but the Chola power gradually declined and the dynasty came to an end in the 13th century. The place of Cholas was taken by the Pandyas and the Hoysalas in the south, of the later Chalukyan by the Yadavas and the Kakatiyas. These state too extended patronage to art and architecture, but unfortunately, they weakened themselves by continually fighting against each other, sacking towns and not even sparing the temple. Finally, in the beginning of the 14th century, they were destroyed by the Sultan of Delhi. Administration of the Cholas. The Chola inscription generally refers to king as Ko, Perumal or Perumal Adigal, the Great One, Raja, Rajadiraj and Ko Konmai Konna, king of the king. The king had all the authority rested in him and had a council of ministers to advise him. The different Chola inscriptions describe the king as endowed with the attractive physical appearance, a great warrior and a conqueror, a great patron of the art and a generous giver of gifts, especially to Brahmanas, a protector of Varnashrama Dharma, a destroyer of evil of the Kali age. The king were often compared with the gods either directly or with the use of double entendre. For instance, the Chola king Raja was referred to as Ulkalanda Perumal, that is, the great one who measured the earth like the god Vishnu, who accordingly to a famous myth encompasses the universe with the three sides. The king often undertook tours in order to keep it better touch with the administration. They were protected by bodyguards called Velakaikar, who were sworn to defend the king even at the cost of their own lives. There was a hereditary element in their selection and they were given assignments of the land revenue. The Venetian traveller Marco Polo, who visited Kerala in the 13th century, writes that on the death of the monarch, all his bodyguards burned themselves in the funeral pyre. The kings maintained large households and large palaces with banquet halls, spacious gardens and terraces. The large number of terms for office and official in the Chola inscription as compared to those of the Pallavas, Pandyas and the Cheras suggested an expansion of the administrative structures, especially from the reign of Raja I, early 11th century, and the decline after the reign of Kolutunga I, at which point the centralized bureaucracy declined and there was a gradual increase in the power of local chieftains. The various officials were called Perundanam and Sirudanam. The Cholas maintained a large army consisting of 3 limbs of elephants, cavalry and infantry, which was armed with spears. The royal troops were called Kaikola Perumpadai and military cantonments were called Kadagamas. Special attention was given to the training of the army. The empire, known as Rajyams or Rashtrams, were divided into 8 mandalams, provinces, each governed by the governor, viceroys, who were generally princes of the royal blood or of the noble families. Officials were generally paid by giving them assignments of the revenue-bearing lands. Some of the provinces were formed of principalities which had been annexed by the Cholas, and some were territories of the vassal prince, who paid tribute and rendered service to the king in emergent situation. The provinces were further divided into kotams or valandus, which were again divided into nadus, that is districts, each of which consisted of number of autonomous villages that played a key role in Chola administration system. The administration was also greatly facilitated by the Shrenis or Pugas, guilds, which were like some autonomous corporate organization having person belonging to the same craft. So mandalam / provinces headed by the viceroy / governor, kotam / valundu, nadus district also known as agricultural lands, nattar assembly of leading men of the nadu or district, Nagarattar or Nagaram, assembly of mercantile group and merchants / merchants. The Nagaram was specific to different trades and specialized group. For instance, the Selya Nagaram and Satasuma Parishata Nagaram was associated with the textile trade. The Shankarapadi Nagaram represented oil and ghee supplies. The Parga Nagaram was the corporate organization of seafaring merchants, and the Vinaya Nagaram catered to the oil merchants. These corporate organizations were also referred to as Samaya, that is, created through an agreement or contract. And interestingly, the members of Samaya were governed by the code of conduct called Panaju Dharma. One of the powerful guilds, which was among the largest supra-regional merchants associated, was the Ayovale, the 500, which was established in Aihole, Karnataka. Similarly, Manigramam was another prominent guild of the 13th century located in the protection, and these guilds joined fixed cess and tolls. In due course of time, the merchants' guild became more and more powerful and independent. As the Chola declined, the guilds too subsequently became less dependent on royal support. Chola village administration. The Cholas were famous for their local government, self-government model, which can be considered as one of the earliest example of Panchayati Raj system. Highlight this, ठीक है? जो छोला का local self-government था, it can be considered as the earliest example of Panchayati Raj system. The village administration was very systematic as well, developed. Regarding the assemblies of the village, the Chola inscription mentioned Ur, General Assembly of the local resident of non-Brahmadaya village, or Velanvagi villages, to discuss matter without any formal rules or procedure. Nothing much is known about the composition of the Ur, but generally the members were less than 10. It dealt with various matters related to land maintenance such as land sale, gift, tax, exemption. Sabha or Mahasabha, exclusive assembly of Brahmins gathering of the adult male members in the Agraharas, that is rent-free Brahmadaya village, which enjoyed a large measure of autonomy. The member was governed by different criteria such as property ownership, family, antecedents, learning and good conduct. The Mahasabha possessed the proprietary rights over communal land and controlled the private lands within its jurisdiction. It could raise loans for the village and leave taxes with the right to realize the revenue in case of default by selling the land in question by public auction. There were close links between some of the Brahmana Sabhas and the Chola court. Two inscriptions from Uttarameru testify this fact and specify that the resolution of Sabha was made in the presence of an official specially deputed by the king. In another inscription from Tanjore, it appears that Rajaraja I issued orders to the Sabhas of Cholamandalam to perform various types of services in Brihadeshwara temple. The affairs of the village were managed by the executive committee, to which educated person owing property were elected either by drawing lots or by rotation. These members had to retire every 3 years. There were different committees which looked after different activities like law and order, justice, tank committee, known as Irivaria, which looked after the distribution of water to the fields. Inscription and text. Who could be the member of Sabhas? The Uttarameru inscription lays down, all those who wish to become members of the Sabha should be the owner of land from which land revenue is collected. They should have their own homes. They should be between 35 and 70 years of age. They should have knowledge of Vedas. They should be well versed in administrative matters and honest. If anyone has been a member of any committee in the last 3 years, he cannot become a member of another committee. Anyone who has not submitted his account and those of his relative cannot contest the election. While the inscription tells us about the king and the powerful men, here is an excerpt from the Periyampuram, a 12th century Tamil work which informs us about the lives of ordinary men and women. On the outskirts of Adnur was a small hamlet of Puliyas, a name which is used for a social group considering outcasts by Brahmanas and Velas, studded with small hut under the old thatched and inhabited by agrarian laborers engaged in menial occupation. In the threshold of the hut covered with the strips of leathers, little chicken moved about in a group, and dark children who wore bracelets of black iron were panching about, carrying little puppies in the shades of the Marudu Arjuna tree. A female laborer put her baby to sleep on the sheet of leather. There were mango trees from whose branches drums were hanging, and under the coconut palm, in the little hollow on the ground, tiny headed bitches lay after whipping. The red crested croc crowd before dawn, calling the brani puller on their day's work, and by day, under the shade of the kanji tree, spread the voice of a wavy-haired Pulia woman singing as they were husking paddy. The Chola assemblies was the absolute proprietor of the village land and also of the newly acquired land. The main source of income of Chola Empire was the land revenue, which was normally 1/6 of the produce. The royal dues were collected by village assembly and were paid either in cash or in kind or in both. The land revenue department was well organized and was called Paruvu Varithi Hinai Kalam. The Chola government carried out the land survey, which were generally very accurate. Periodical and record of holding was maintained. Chola inscription mentioned different categories of land. Velan Vagai, land of non-Brahmana present proprietors. Brahmadeya, land gifted to Brahmanas. Shalabhoga, land for the maintenance of school. Devidana or Tiruna Muttakani, land gifted to temple. Palai Chichadan, land donated to Jaina institution. So highlight this, ठीक है? आप इस टॉपिक को स्टार मार्क कर लीजिए, जहाँ पे we talk about types of land and what those lands were for, ठीक है? The different Chola inscription pointed out to several instances of land transfers via sale or gift involving the transfer of kanai rights. That is the right of possession over land associated with certain other rights and obligations. These rights were further subdivided into Karanmai, right to cultivate, further divided into two types. Kurinaiki, situation in which people previously settled in the village were either removed or deprived of their rights. Kudininga, situation in which such people were not to be disturbed. Mitachi, superior possessive rights. In certain inscription of Karnataka, there were interesting reference to village headed by women. For instance, in 1902 CE inscription, we learn that the village Brangiur was headed by the wife of a man named Bitaya. In another inscription of 1055 CE, there was a reference to a woman named Chandigayabe as Agavundi, that is, the village chief, and another woman named Jakiabe as her mantrika, counselor. So that's all for the day, right? So in the next lecture, we'll start with the Chola society and economy. So keep on watching Ghatna Sutra. See you next time.